Hello, good afternoon. My name is Natalie, and I'm currently taking English 1302-91C. Overall, throughout the semester, I learned and adapted to new strategies I can use for my future self. These strategies were and will be very useful when I want to develop another research project. Question 1 was, what do you know now about how to compose posts on social media that you didn't know before my class? What was the most difficult thing you experienced while trying to create design posts for social media? So I learned to stay organized with my research. In the past, I would deal with this by leaving everything to the end and not having a plan for my research. However, having an assignment to do every week pushed me to dig deeper in my research and compose a lot of short videos that I have posted on my social media. The sole purpose of a rough draft is to give you a place to start to formally put together your ideas with evidence. Additionally, writing rough drafts lets you gauge if you need to do more research, change your purpose, or switch topics completely. In this class, it allowed me to change my perspective many times in different ways. In this class, I learned this by doing many rough drafts to help me stay organized with my research. This helped me a lot to improve drafting skills, such as my thoughts, rather than being all over the place trying to gather all of my thoughts last minute. Rough drafts are always crucial to having a well-developed anything and have a better performance. An example from classwork is, let me go ahead and look for that. So, this is one of the rough drafts I have made during my class. So it's just me putting my information together and using it towards my short videos. Another example is this one right here. This is also another rough draft that I did so I can jot down what my plan was for these short videos that I composed throughout my social media posts. Another example is this one. This is just another rough draft I made so I can further see how I can incorporate these rough drafts in my social media posts. In the future, I can use this knowledge by giving my rough drafts a lot of thought and really taking my time developing my research. Considering throughout the semester, rough drafts were really useful for me. I will learn to take my time on my rough drafts, and it allows me to write all my thoughts I may have for my research. I also learned to use the proper research tools to best convey my own research. In the past, I knew that I could get all my research on Google Chrome and not any other database. In this class, I learned that there are more research tools to explore. I used to think that the other databases were going to give me the same information as Google Chrome. I was wrong. Once I started using Google Scholar and the UTRGV database, I got way more deeper information that I specifically wanted in my research. In this class, I learned this by going to the resources that Professor Bonnie provided for us and choosing whatever fit me best. An example from class was, let me go ahead and look, was these databases that she provided for us. And so I ended up using Google Scholar and UTRGV databases. In the future, I can use this knowledge by giving the other databases a chance and really taking into consideration that these websites are really useful when trying to find the information that you desire to get for your research. For this research, finding information on Google Scholar and UTRGV databases was very crucial because they had what I needed to develop a well-informational research. With those resources, it gave me more credible sources, ones I can rely on with reliable information. So question 2 was, what do you know now about how research works that you didn't know before? My class, what was the most difficult thing you experienced while doing research? I learned to find gaps. We need to critically evaluate our sources. In the past, I would deal with this by looking for other sources. However, finding those gaps gave me a better understanding of what I am looking for to further expand my research. In this class, I learned this by making a table describing what my other sources had that the other ones did not, and seeing what fit best for my research and what sources were going off topic that I needed to eliminate to stay on track with my research. I found myself getting on topic with the sources I chose because I focused on what they had to offer rather than looking for what my research was initially. So an example from classwork is one that I already showed, which was this one. So this is a rough draft that I made so I can eliminate some of the sources that I had so I can create a new research question. So closing the gaps was actually very useful for me because it got me to where I am now, which is my new research question, and I finished strong and I finished how I wanted my research to end. Another example is, let me go ahead and look for that, is this one. So this one is just me explaining what I wanted to do when I closed my gap. So in the future, I can use this knowledge by evaluating my sources and seeing what will work for me and what will not. I will definitely be using the gap for my future self that makes any other research. It was really helpful seeing what my sources had that made my research get off topic at times. But this helped me determine my new research question and stay on track. I think this took a big turn on my research. So another thing that I learned was the CRAP test. This determined good, credible, and reliable, trustworthy. In the past, I did not know that we had to evaluate our sources. Actually, I would just stick to one that would give me the information and bam, I would do my research. In this class, I learned that evaluating my sources are crucial to having reliable and credible information. Some people who wrote their articles were not very legit, but evaluating my sources helped me to eliminate any non-credible sources, and that also allowed me to move forward on my research. I felt at peace knowing that I had reliable sources to use on my research. I was so set in my ways of doing research that I was not looking at the bigger picture. Every little detail is crucial to having reliable information and well-developed research. So an example from classwork is this one right here. So this is a worksheet, a CRAP worksheet that we use to see if our sources were reliable or not. And this CRAP sheet was actually very useful. It really, I really dig deep in my research for my sources, and this was actually a very good way. So another example is this one. So this one is just like a continuing of the CRAP sheet, and it also the CRAP sheet gave a lot of details that I didn't know I needed, so that's what helped. And then the last one was also part of the CRAP sheet, and it was very detailed to the point where I knew that this source was not going to be reliable. In the future, I can use this knowledge by using this same template to see if my sources pass the CRAP test, and see what sources I can replace. Question 3 is, what do you know now about how to search for or talk about your secondary sources that you didn't know before my class? What was the most difficult thing you experienced while searching for your secondary source or communicating your secondary source ideas to your audience in a post? I learned the table activity, finding similarities and differences between our sources. In the past, I would deal with this by not even thinking about finding the differences in my sources. I would not even think to even evaluate or touch base on my sources at all. In this class, I learned this by making a table explaining the differences and similarities between my sources. This helped me really giving my sources a second thought and really criticizing them to eliminate sources that were not credible. I loved and hated this strategy just because this was such a good activity that I really needed to give my sources a thought, and it gave me a clear understanding of my non-credible sources. An example from classwork is this table. I'm sorry that it is, I think I could, okay. This is the table where I had to give my similarities from my sources and differences. And let me tell you, this activity was very helpful. I really got to research my sources and see which ones were more reliable for me or not. In the future, I can use this knowledge by creating tables to find similarities and differences between my sources. This is a good strategy to analyze your sources from greatest to least. Other than the CRAP sheet, this is also another way to really see what sources are viable. Another thing I learned is think about our sources as a part of a big conversation. In the past, I didn't know that these strategies were going to be useful and educational, but once I actually did this activity, I learned a lot from my sources and what all of them were meaning to say, and I got to really dig deeper and make deeper connections with my sources. In this class, I learned this by making a big conversation within all my sources to see what each of them had that the other didn't, and which had the stronger information to use for my research. Example from classwork. So I'm using the same table just because the table has a lot of things, a lot of information, such as the similarities and differences and the conversation. So what each and everyone had to offer and what were the differences and such. In the future, I can use this knowledge by being very critical with my sources so I can find a deeper connection within my sources. In the future, if I am put in that situation where I have to do research, something that I will be very patient in doing all of these activities to have a good project. Question 4. What do you know now about writing a call to action for your audience that you didn't know before my class? What was the most difficult thing you experienced while trying to compose, create, design a post that would call your audience to action for social media? I learned that we need to identify our audience. In the past, I would deal with this by just going on and on with my research instead of focusing on who am I writing this to. I think it is important to see who you are writing it to so you can gather information for those portions of people you are dedicating your research for. In this class, I learned this by having a calling to action worksheet. This really helped me jot down my research and a lot more efficiently. So an example from classwork is, let me go ahead and look for that. And it's right here. So this worksheet was how it said in the title, brainstorming and planning. And some of the questions were really clear, which is, who is your audience? What do you want your audience to do? What can you do with your social media to get your audience to take that action? And I really was really specific in these questions. and it really helped me develop a new research post.